Your Dog's Friend is a nonprofit 501c3 whose mission is to help keep dogs out of shelters by educating and supporting their humans. We promote positive method of training and behavior modification through stress-free methods. As part of that mission, we offer free webinars like the one you're about to watch. Subjects range from dog behavior, stress-free training, and other tools to help you understand your relationship with your dog. If you like the webinar, be sure to give us a thumbs up. Click the notification bell and subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you'll be notified when future videos are posted. We would also appreciate it if you would make a tax-deductible donation to support our mission of providing stress-free dog education resources. You can find a donation button located at the top of our channel page and at the top of the Your Dog's Friend webpage. A link to our webpage along with the speaker's contact info are listed in the description for this video. Now enjoy the webinar.
Hi everyone, welcome. Today's webinar will help you keep your children and your dogs happy and safe. Something that's always important, but particularly this time of year when there's a lot of activity and kids are home from school for a long winter break. First, though, let me introduce you to our speaker, Justine Schuurmans. Justine is the owner of The Family Dog, a company with training programs, videos, podcasts, and a blog all about families and safety. Justine is starting a new program called the Peace, Love, Kids and Dogs Club that is designed to meet the specific needs of families. It will include online, family-focused training that is available 24/7, as well as access to a community of parents and live weekly Q&As. Please put your questions in chat. We will get to your questions at the end, although there will be a point partway in where we are going to see you and hear from you, but wait until we tell you it's okay. I know that you will learn a lot from today's webinar, and I am turning it over to you, Justine.
Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. I know that there's plenty of places that you get to be at this time of year. It's busy, life is busy, so thank you for spending your 2 p.m. window on Saturday with me. I thought what we do is just kick this off. Hopefully we're going to have a lot of fun in the next hour or so, and a quick icebreaker in the chat. If I can find the chat now in my window. Just can you tell me your dog's nickname? Because I'm known for having crazy nicknames for my dogs, and I'm sure you guys are doing the same thing too. So just tell me your dog's nickname in the chat, and I can kind of get an idea of who we've got in the audience watching. Shamalama ding dong, Finny. Oh, my daughter's called Finny. She's Finn. Sweet old dog, woo woo, pup pup. I love it. Luna Bear, Moose, Mr. Gentleman. Yes, excellent. See, you're all crazy like me. I love it. All right, so moving on. I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. I am a mum, and I have 2 kids that are now 15 and 17, which is crazy. That makes me kind of old. I have 3 dogs, ranging from my oldest, who's 14 and a half, down to my new puppy, who's just 11 weeks, who's fast asleep down here, and a 7-year-old in the middle, the little troublemaker. And I've been a dog trainer for nearly 20 years now, but for the last 11, I have specialized in working with kids and dogs only. Don't they say never work with children or animals? And again, I'm the crazy enough person to work with both. I actually used to work at Nickelodeon for a very long time, so I had a good grounding in craziness and television. I am obsessed with helping parents and kids live happily and safely together, and you're going to find that out over the course of this webinar. So, as Deborah mentioned, I would love to take your questions, but so that we kind of keep the flow of the webinar going, I'm so easily sidetracked and can go down a rabbit hole. If you do have a question at any point, I'd love you to put it in the chat and put a couple of asterisks next to it or at the beginning so that we can easily identify at the end. We'll run through the chat and we'll come back to your questions, okay? All right, so why are you here? As I said, this is holiday season and I know everybody's ridiculously busy. So what I'd like to do is to be sure that you get the most out of this webinar. Okay, so what I'd love you to do is to take a second to reflect on what actually pulled you here today. What was it in the title of the webinar that said, yeah, you know, I want to go and see that? I'm guessing that you probably have kids and a dog, or you're thinking about getting a dog. So if you have an issue in your mind that you would actually kind of either consciously or subconsciously like solved, I want you to write that down for a second. Okay. And maybe you have a puppy and everything's going well, but you want to stay ahead of the game, or you're getting a new dog and you don't want to fall into some of the traps. So I'd like you to write down what you would be afraid of happening. So like your worst case scenario, maybe, or something that you just don't want to run into. And this piece is really, really important, because I don't know who you are and I don't know what your situation is. And I want this information to be really useful so you can walk away at the end of it and be like, yes, I got the most out of this. So it'll help you stay laser focused on solving your own solution. So once you've got your little issue, your little thing that you'd like to work through, we're going to run it through my 9 truths of this webinar, okay? And then you're going to get to focus on how each one of the 9 truths will help you to give you the tools to tackle that thing. So right now, I'd like to write in the chat your issue or your fear or the thing that you're most concerned about. And I'll take a look at that. And you're also going to need a piece of paper, and you're going to list the numbers 1 to 9 down the left-hand side, because we're going to fill in something for each one of the truths. Okay, so get writing in the chat. And in a minute, I'm going to turn my camera off so I can present and be like fully present without wondering whether, you know, I've got crazy face going on. Okay, so we've got reduce the chaos. Moose is a rescue puppy and he doesn't like toddlers. I have 2 teenagers at home and he's never been near young kids. That's great. Okay. Unpredictable rescue. I have 2 dogs already and I'm expecting a baby. Fantastic, Megan, getting ahead of the curve. Our dog is also a rescue, super sweet, 99% great, but also gets scared by toddlers and young kids. Fantastic. Right. I love this, guys. Thank you for being so interactive, because the more interactive you are, obviously the easier it is for me to be able to answer your questions and to jive with you. Right, I'm going to see if I can turn my camera off, but I'm not sure how to do that. Let me see if I can. So let's get started. We're going to move on to the very first truth. Here we are. Truth number 1. Okay. Coming in strong, our expectations are out of whack. So don't hate me. This is kind of who I am. I'm going to tell you the truth as I see it. So we've been fed a little bit of a fib about our dogs. And that might be thanks to Disney and other movies and TV shows. I want you to take a look at this next slide and tell me, what do all of these dogs have in common? Post it in the chat. We love these dogs so much. They're some of our favorite dogs ever. What do they all have in common? They love kids. Kids are their best friend. Yes, absolutely. What else? What else do they have in common? Thanks, Emma, for that. They're all well trained. Exactly, Mary. That is right. They all love kids. They all kind of have some kind of superpower. They're very, very well connected to their owners, adult and children, and they're all fictional characters and they're all actors. Okay. And the truth is, this is where this expectations out of whack thing kind of comes up, is that because we parents are all super busy, we kind of love the narrative of the perfect dog, and who really is an actor, honestly. Okay. So who doesn't love the idea of a perfect dog or a perfect kid, right? It makes life so, so much easier for us. So just as a quick tester question, imagine if I could find you this dog. Would you like a dog or a puppy who doesn't nip at your kids, wake you up at night, pee in the house, need entertaining, jump on your guests, doesn't dig up your yard, doesn't run off, doesn't chew your stuff, doesn't need to be watched or chases moving things, and doesn't mind staying home all day or cause a scene at your kids' game? I know I would. It sounds very attractive, right? But the reality is if you said yes to that, you would be the owner of a brand new stuffed puppy. All right. Guaranteed to act perfectly in every single one of those situations. So the question is, why didn't we get stuffed puppies? Like, it looks perfect, right? The reason that we didn't get those stuffed puppies is because they're boring. They don't add that same love and vitality and fun to the equation, right? They're not real. Now, the problem is, if you get a real puppy or a real dog, they can't commit to not doing all of that stuff. They just can't. Okay, they're living, breathing animals. They will definitely do some of these things, if not all of them. But the reason that we get dogs is because they add so much to our lives. So much love, again, so much affection and fun. And so this is why we prefer the real puppies over the stuffed ones. Now, in addition to the television false narrative, one of the other biggest factors in this mismatch of expectations is that for generations, dogs have been bred to do jobs for us. And now their lives have dramatically changed. So if you take a look at some of the groups of dogs, we had dogs who were specialized in flushing and hunting, retrieving game. Some who were bred for herding. Look at that awesome dog herding those cows there. Some, the hounds that were bred for sniffing and chasing down and hunting other animals. The ratters that were, assigned to getting rid of all the vermin. Very, very helpful. And then the livestock guardians that were protecting the livestock. These were really important jobs. But one of the huge things about all of these dogs is that they spent so much time outside. And now, within the last 50 years, their lives have changed significantly. So we have them in our homes, we have them in our living rooms, our bedrooms, and that can be very tricky for them. And it can also be very tricky for us, because parents, again, as I said, are so stretched. We're so overstretched that their natural behaviors can actually be very annoying. So I'd love to hear in the chat, what does your dog do? I don't know if you know what your dog was bred to do, but I'm sure you know what they like to do and the things that they naturally are kind of instinctively led to do. So tell me in the chat which one of these behaviors, or another behavior that's not listed. This is certainly not an exhaustive list, but what does your dog do? Barking. Okay, nice one, Anna. I'd like to know what kind of dog you have, actually, Anna. If you have a mix, what kind of mix it is. Herding other dogs. Great, Gail. Eating furniture. Chewing. Yes. Oh, giant schnauzer. Okay, great. Fantastic. Herding, barking, and chewing. Yes. So these are all things that can be really tricky for us to live with, right? So honestly, what's easier and more natural for us is like the more human-y kind of primate-friendly behavior, like this, like dressing our dogs up as Christmas trees, carrying them around in purses or backpacks, leaving them alone all day and just hoping that they'll be all right. And I'm calling this stuffed puppy syndrome, right? We really kind of would like them to be stuffed puppies, act like stuffed puppies, even when they're not. And it's not good for them, but it feels good for us. I got that backwards. It may feel good for us, but it's really not that healthy for them. They need, I'm going to go back to my other slide, they need outlets to be able to do what they were actually bred to do. And even if you have a mixed breed, by the way, this is not to say, I'm not talking about purebred dogs here. I'm talking about mixes as well. They all still have this genetic lineage and an instinct to do certain things. So stuffed puppy syndrome, we also suffer from CTD, crazy timeline disorder as well. So if you take a look at my little chart here, if you have children, which I'm sure most of you do, you'll know how long it takes to potty train a kid. I mean, we are definitely talking at least 6 months, and that's something that most parents really don't mind doing. They understand they have to invest that time. But my clients get a bit twitchy, honestly, after about a month. It could be 4 weeks. And they're like, wait, it's still peeing on the floor. What am I supposed to do? And the truth is that dogs come doing all of these natural doggy things. They will pee wherever they feel like they need to pee. We have to show them how to actually act in our own homes and in our own lives. And it's not just limited to potty training. It could be walking on leash, or not jumping on your kids or your guests, or not chewing your couch, stealing, nipping, any of those things. It's really on us to be mindful of how long it actually takes to train some of these new behaviors for them. So if we can change our lens, then I think we can really start to make everything feel better. If you take a look at these 3 little dogs here, on the surface, they might all look like naughty dogs, right? We've got the dog on the left, showing his teeth, clearly not having fun. Dog in the middle, disgustingly gross and dirty. And the dog on the right, who's about to pinch a donut. But what if we just change the lens to, these aren't naughty dogs. These are just dogs who are doing dog stuff. So the picture on the left, and I don't know how you guys might be really, really well versed in dog body language, and we're going to talk about that next. But I love this picture so much because the dog with the showing his teeth is giving some really clear feedback, as dogs do, about how that interaction is going. And the dog who's flicking out his tongue is saying, I got you. I realized that was too much. I'm sorry about that. And I wish we had the video of this because I'd like to see what happened next. And my guess would be, this would be a really nice little play date between these dogs because they're being very clear about what is going on in that particular picture. The dog in the middle, well, he is just delightfully filthy. And find me a kid who doesn't like to stick on their wellies and go and jump in puddles and get dirty. It's just really, really fun, right? And the dog on the right about to pilfer the donut. Well, you don't need to have eaten a donut to know that it smells good. A lot of dogs, this is how they got to live with us in the first place. They are brilliant at opportunistic behavior and at raiding garbage. That's just what they love to do and what they're really good at. So while the perfect stuffed puppy idea might be really attractive to us as parents because we want an easy life, we do need to be realistic. Real puppies simply can't live up to stuffed puppy expectations. So what can we do? What is the takeaway of truth number 1? Our expectations are out of whack. Well, we're going to have realistic expectations about dogs. Dogs are amazing, right? Who doesn't love, we all have dogs and we love them, but they're not perfect. And what they do naturally can be annoying. Okay, so we're going to try to, now we like thinking about this particular truth, try to accept our dogs for their dogginess. And then we're going to try to teach them how to live in our world in a way that makes everyone, them and our whole family, feel safe and happy. And their needs have to be met for them to be their best selves. You know, going back to giving them some sort of realistic, what am I trying to say? Giving them some outlets and some activity for them to actually be able to do their doggy stuff. And I also want you to have realistic expectations about your dogs and your kids, because the honeymoon period could actually be over pretty quickly. Puppies particularly come with these like really sharp teeth, and that can be difficult for young kids to handle. So you might have to get involved, unfortunately, in shaping your kids and dog relationship more than you thought. Remember, Lassie was an actor, remember? So, all right, now I need you to whip out your pen and paper, and in your number 1 spot, where your number 1 truth is, I would like you to write down where you think you know that you could use some extra acceptance for your dog and their behavior, or some extra teaching. And that is going to stay with you. At the end of this, we're going to have 9 little pointers to remind us of how this is all going. So extra acceptance and extra teaching. Everybody got that? Taking a quick swig of my coffee. All right, are we ready to move on to truth number 2? Okay, let's do it. Truth number 2 is dogs have feelings. Yes, they're living, thinking, and very much feeling beings, I should say. So I'm going to show you this video in a moment. It's a video that I made all about dog body language. But before I do, I just wanted to talk to you about the fact we all know that the best relationships are a two-way street, right? You'd be miserable if you were in a relationship, no matter who they were, family, partner, children, or if you're in any relationship with a person who ignored your feelings or your opinions. But somehow when it comes to our dogs, it's really easy to fall into that trap, because it becomes just about like the trap of, it's just about our needs, that our dogs are here to love and to listen to and please us. But I really want to challenge that feeling. And I really want us to kind of open our eyes and look at all the magical ways that dogs are talking to us all the time. And they really would love us to listen. So knowing how your dog feels about things is going to not only help deepen your bond, but it will also give you a really great head start in the relationship that your kid has with your dog. So here they are, what your dog is desperately trying to tell you. All right, everybody, I'm back on. Thank you so much to Megan for telling me my mic was muted. I just thought it'd be better than hearing me coughing in the background. So I don't know if you guys have seen that video before. It's been out for a little while, so I'm sure that there are some definitely have seen it. I would love you to type in the chat, what had the biggest impact for you when you watched that video? Was there something that you didn't know, something that you've seen in your dog? Shoot me some information in the chat and let me know. Yep. How unhappy he was when the baby was hugging him, and tail up is tense. Yes, absolutely. The wagging tail thing, Catherine, is really interesting, that everybody seems to believe that wagging tails are happy dogs. But honestly, sometimes that very stiff sort of like metronome ticking tail is this really uncool sign for a dog. It's telling you something is up, and it could be a little bit dangerous as well, but very, very tense. Shantae says, my dog is fearful of people and retreats with any approach of a stranger. Yes. And that's one of those really super clear, lovely signals that dogs give. And yawning, not for tiredness. And that is a great one. One of my dogs does that all the time. And it's just fantastic way of expressing themselves. And I think it's misinterpreted quite often for tiredness. So thank you very much for those, guys. I'm going to move on to the next slide. I want to play a quick game with you. I'm going to give you just a few seconds, so hopefully you're near a keyboard, and I would love you to type in the happy dog. So take a look at all these dogs here, 1 to 9, and quickly type in which dogs you believe are happy. I'm going to count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, hang on a second. 1, 2, 3, 8, 5. Yes, exactly. You guys are brilliant. 2, 3, and 8 for sure are very happy. I think 5 looks pretty happy as well. Now, quick quiz. Which ones are the worried dogs? There are 4 worried dogs as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to count down again. 6, 5, 4, 3. Oh no, no one's replying. 2, 1. Okay, let's see. 6 and 7. And 1, 6, 7. 1, 6, 9, 4. 1, 6, 9, 4. Who said that? Shantae and Catherine. Yes, they're the ones that I think are worried. And 7 is definitely worried, but I would say also really not happy. So you guys are awesome. Look how well you know your dog's body language. So that's brilliant, brilliant stuff. So think just how much we parents rely on reading our children's body language to navigate life. It's a crucial skill that we're using all the time. And I want you just to take a look at these kids' faces for a second. Some of them are a bit more subtle than others, but if you're a parent and you have children, you know these looks. Okay, you know them. You can spot them from around across the room, far away. You can see them. And when we see these looks as parents, we know what to do. We step in, we talk to our kids, we console them, maybe we guide them, we comfort them. So these are all things that we regularly do to our children. But also, when we see this kind of body language, we know that things are coming up. So that's the stepping in to try to avoid something bigger happening. So has anybody ever heard of a dog biting out of the blue? Because the body language piece can actually help you avoid ever getting to a situation where a dog bites, and I'm doing air quotes here, out of the blue. So what I'd like you to do now in the chat is throw out a number of how many signals you think a dog might give before they get to the point of biting. So just throw out any number that you think a dog might throw out before a dog will bite. Andy said 3, Catherine 1, 3, 5, 3, 5. Okay. You're all going to have to hold on to your hair because there are 16 before a dog growls and 18 before a dog bites. And that's just according to this particular graphic. I do love this one. This is brightdog.com's communication ladder. And I'm sure there are actually more that are not listed on here. But so let's say at least 18 before a dog bites, which is pretty shocking, isn't it? But what I really like about it is it encourages us as we ask our kids to use their words, right? Use your words, don't lash out. This is a way that dogs regularly use their words. And I like to call them the whispers. And we really can do ourselves and our dogs a huge service if we listen to the whispers before our dogs have to shout. So I want you to just quickly look at this list and type in something in the chat that you've seen your dog do the most often. Which one of these little body language signals does your dog throw out? Quickly type it in the chat. Look at that list. Stiffening, tail turned under, head turned away. Yes. And these are some really, really subtle signs, aren't they? Yawning, walking away, crouching. Fabulous. So what that is, if you're noticing this regularly in your dog, this is your dog's default. And this is your dog's default way of messaging to you, trying to send you a telegraph. I'm really not okay in this situation. And I would love to challenge you in that moment to look around and see what's actually happening. Is there something environmentally? Is it a sound? Is it another dog? Or is it maybe your child doing something that isn't comfortable for your dog? And then you're going to step in and help your dog to relieve some of that tension. So I can't talk about body language without talking about growling. Okay, I really, really can't. So there's a lot of shame about growling. I know I even feel it honestly myself sometimes. I've had to work hard to work through that because there's really nothing shameful about it. It's incredibly natural. It does not make your dog a bad dog. I know I've heard people so often say, you know, be nice, be nice. They hear their dog growling. But really growling again is just it. On that communication ladder, it's just a way of your dog being able to say, I need to get out of this situation. This is not comfortable for me. And if nothing changes, there could be a worse behavior behind this as well. So dog trainers like to use the smoke alarm analogy. And if you've not heard of it, I think it's really important that I share it with you. So can you train a dog not to growl? And the answer is absolutely yes. But the risk of suppressing that growl is exactly the same as the risk of taking batteries out of your smoke alarm. Okay, or I should say your fire alarm, smoke detector, whatever. So if the batteries come out, you have zero warning of what's about to happen. So if you try to train or suppress the growl out of the dog, you're going to find yourself in a place where you don't know, and your dog could go from 0 to 60. And if you have kids, this is not a place that you want to be. So I do want to say also, if your dog has been growling over certain things, and definitely if they're doing it routinely, pick up the phone, call a trainer, call a good trainer, a force-free trainer, and ask them to come and help work with you, because this is your dog not acting out. They really are asking for help. Okay, so the takeaway for truth number 2 is that a great relationship is a two-way street. It's not simply our dogs listening to and responding to us. It's about us too. And if you take the time to listen to your dog, you're going to see all those things brewing before they actually happen. You'll be able to head off trouble. Your dog will trust you, which is the most perfect thing, and they'll look to you to take the lead, which is really, really important. And your relationship is just going to skyrocket with your dog. So let's take out your paper, and under number 2, this is your mission. You're going to watch the body language video with your kids, and I'm gonna oh, do I have the video? I don't know if I have the video here. You're going to watch but you can find it on the Family Dog YouTube channel, what your dog is desperately trying to tell you. You're going to watch it with your children, and then you're going to study your dog, and you're going to list 3 things that you can see makes your dog happy. And you're going to list 3 other things where you can see your dog asking for help, where they're giving you some of those whispers and saying, please, can you help me out of this situation? And then you can respond to them. You can give them more of the things that make them happy and try and help relieve some of the stress and anxiety where they need help. All right, truth number 3, dogs can be scary to kids. So beautiful kid-dog relationships often don't come naturally. They need to be created. So it's absolutely not to say that they don't exist. They sometimes just need a little bit of help. And there are always outliers, but the reason for this sometimes is that young dogs are naturally unpredictable, not gentle, excitable, rambunctious, not aware of personal space, not able to predict outcomes, and they're super affectionate. And all of those things can be scary to kids. Look at that dog. I love him. He's sticking his he just has crazy eyes, doesn't he? Sticking his foot in his mouth, having a fabulous old time. So some of the scary stuff that dogs do to kids, or can feel scary to kids, is they snatch food. Kids are walking. If you have little people in your house and they're, you know, wandering around with food that's low, not surprising if the dog comes up and just grabs it. Barking can be very scary to dogs, especially dogs that have a big bark can be very intimidating. We know dogs love to jump up because that's where all the fun is, up at faces and hands, and that can be scary too if you're little. Chasing, incredibly intimidating depending on the dog and how intense their chase is. And also, if you have a young dog, they do grab at clothes. It's just what they do. Add to the list, nipping with sharp puppy teeth, taking treats hard, pouncing on kids, knocking kids over, scratching and growling. These are all difficult for kids to deal with. So the takeaway for truth number 3 of dogs being scary to kids is to protect your kids. And you're going to use these 3 guideposts here to prepare, or to teach, to prepare, and separate. So I wonder if you can think of a time in your home that really needs your attention, and see if you can think about that time and these 3 little guideposts here and how you might be able to apply them. So the one that I get to see all the time, and when I work with families, is like the after school madness. So, you know, the kids have been gone all day and the dog maybe has been in a crate, and then we open the door and then dog flies out, and dog can be really scary and overwhelming to the kids. So the first thing that I would say is that we want to teach the dog some behaviors that are like off switch behaviors, maybe how to lie down, or how to chill out on a mat, or maybe even how to just chew on a puzzle toy, or to take treats gently, something that's just helpful for kids to be able to interact with them. And you want to teach for the situation, not in the situation, right? So you want to get ahead of this and plan a time when you've got a couple of minutes free, which I know is, you know, usually very few and far between if you've got a busy household, but to try to teach some of these things. And then preparing. If I were in the parent's shoes, I would be sure to make 15 minutes before my kids were going to walk in the door, I would be sure that my dog had been outside to go to the bathroom, that I had exercised them, like throwing the ball around or playing tug or doing some kind of exercise. And then I would probably be tempted to put them behind a baby gate or maybe in a crate with a puzzle toy, so that I can welcome the kids home, help them unpack their bag, settle them with a snack. And when all of that kind of energy and drama has, simmered down a little bit, then we'd let the dog out. And then to separate, if you really do not have the time, the patience, or the capability to be able to deal with that in the moment and protect your kids, then just use gates, crates and leashes. And that's absolutely no problem. So I want you to run your particular struggle through this filter and write down what you need to focus on. And if you run it through this filter, the one that you wrote at the beginning, and nothing resonated, I do want to say that if you have a dog, it's likely, if you have children as well, that you'll be around more dogs. It's just how it works. You know, friends with dogs, or you go to the park now with your dog and your kids will meet more dogs. So I want you just to write in, protect your kids, teach, prepare, and separate. Okay, just to remind you. Okay. How's everybody doing? All good? Fantastic. All right. So truth number 4. It's not just the dogs who are scary. Kids can be scary to dogs too. So this is the flip, and it's not something that we talk about a lot. So young kids are naturally, take a look at this list and tell me in the chat what you notice about it. And my kids are terrifying. I love it. What do you notice about this list about young kids naturally, their natural behavior? Yeah, it's the same list. Exactly. Absolutely the same list. So these are some of the scary things that kids do to dogs. Okay. And now I want us to be really, really honest about this. And I'm going to own up. These happen in my home too. I'm a dog trainer and I have grown-up children who should know better, should in air quotes. So tell me what you see in your home. What do your kids doing off this list, or maybe not on this list, but something else that you know that's probably not fantastic? And let's share away. Andy says number 5, getting right into a dog's face. Yes, that is definitely one of the more popular ones. Hugging, especially out of the blue. Fantastic. Number 4, picking dogs up. Hugging and getting into the dog's face. Yep, you guys are not alone. So just in the same way that we were talking about prepping our dogs with some skills, we want to teach our kids, as the takeaway here, to be safe. So the takeaway is to protect your dog like they're your baby. And that's really, really important. And not like a baby, like dressing them up in baby clothes and pushing them around in a stroller. That's not what I'm talking about. But just have that same kind of veracity for looking out for your dog in the same way that you did when your child was a baby. Okay. So this little graphic here, if you start with safe kids at the top, if your kids are doing safe things, they're not doing all of the list of scary stuff from the previous slide. When they're safe, they create happy dogs. So your dogs will be happy. And when your dogs are happy, then we follow the arrow back up to the top where we see safe kids, because your dog isn't going to be doing anything on that communication ladder, right? They're going to be just happy and not even on the chart. They don't have to throw out any stress signals. And then we get this lovely kind of loop, which is just fantastic. So safe kids equal happy dogs, and happy dogs equal safe kids, which has to be the goal here. So again, looks familiar, doesn't it? Teach, prepare, and separate. So you're going to run your struggle through this filter and write down what you need to focus on for truth number 4. And again, if nothing resonated for you, if your problem is nothing like this, you'll need to watch out for other people's kids. Or maybe you're just listening to this content today because you don't have kids, but you are frightened of other people's kids, and your dog's frightened of other people's kids too. So you're just going to write down protect your dog, teach, prepare, and separate in your number 4 slot. Now, the bottom of this slide says, if you don't protect them, they're left to protect themselves. And I can't tell you how important this piece is. So we all come with some level of self-protection. And ideally, what's happening is if your dog is stressed out, they need to be looking to you, and you're going to take care of business to make the scary thing go away. And if you don't do that, they might do something that you don't actually like. And that is really, really unfortunate. We want to make sure that everybody is listening to the signals and not dropping the ball, because you want to be stepping in so that they don't have to step in. All right, so we are about halfway through. We've just covered part 1, which is all about attitude, about the kind of the way that we see our dogs and see our kids. And before we hit part 2, which is all about the action, I want to wrap up this truth number 4 about kids being scary to dogs, with a video that I made to show how a kid's good intentions, left to her own devices, might feel to her dog. And what I'd love you to do, I'm going to full disclaimer on this. This is quite an emotional video. So I would love you to write your feelings in the chat as you're watching. And then I'm going to turn it off, and we're going to put some cameras on, and we're going to talk for a couple of minutes about it and discuss it together. Okay. So here we go.
Crazy about dogs. Every night I dreamed I would have my very own. And then one day he came. I loved him. We were partners. We did everything together. I helped make his dinner. I always gave him his favorite treats. And I even taught him how to sit. And wow, the adventures we had. We were doctors, sailors, cowboys, and princesses. We had the most awesome times. Best friends forever. He was always there for me. And I loved him so much. I don't know what happened. Everything I knew had changed, and I was part of a whole new family now.
But boy, she was fun, and I knew she loved me. So I let her hug me, lay on me, and pick me up, even though I really didn't like it. I did my best to be good, even when she put her hands in my food and teased me with my bone, or made me do things I didn't want to. That swing was scary, so I held on tight. I tried to say I didn't want to be the patient, or the sailor, or the horse. I even asked the grown-ups for help, but nothing. I was saying it as loud as I could, but it was like no one could hear me. I kept telling her with my eyes, my face, my whole body. But she wasn't listening. I didn't mean to hurt her. I just wanted to make it stop.
And then it happened. And we never saw each other again.
77% of dog bites come from the family dog or a friend's dog. It's not for lack of love, it's for lack of understanding. And children are the most at risk. Together, it's a number we can change. So join us at stopthe77.com and learn the fun ways to teach your kids to stay safe around the dogs they love.
Okay. All right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start my video and I'm going to stop my screen share for a second. If you guys want to, I would love to see you. I would love to hear from you and let me know what you thought of that video. Oh, it's nice. I can see everybody now. It's not. Hi, everyone. Oh, I'm not good talking to just a computer. It's not as fun as seeing all of your faces. Okay, so Kathy's, all right, thank you so much, Kathy. So tell me in the chat, or if anybody wants to just unmute, raise their hand and tell me what they thought about that. You guys are shy. Don't be shy. I feel like I'm going to start this off by saying that it's still a very emotional video for me. When I made it, I used to cry actually making it, which is kind of crazy, but it's an icky subject to talk about, honestly, but it is the elephant in the room when it comes to kids and dogs. And so many dogs end up in rescue. I'm sure, Deborah, you've seen this before. And often it's not necessarily anything that the dog has done aside from being just a dog, but has been a product of what's been going on at home. And this is really why I do what I do, to try to make sure that no family gets in this place, because it's heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking to have your dog either rehomed or worse. And so this is why this is going on right now, why this talk is going on right now. So I wondered where everybody's head is. I felt really bad for the dog, so preventable and sad. Our rescue came to us because he bit a child. Yes. And it happens a lot. So,
yeah, Justine?
Yeah.
So when I was a child, this is really upsetting because when I was a child, my uncle's dog bit my cousins and we were in Prince Edward Island, and then the dog disappeared after. I don't even want to think about what happened, but it's so traumatizing because I can imagine that my cousins, I had a whole bunch of male cousins, they're probably torturing the dog. Yeah. And then the dog defended itself. And, but then everybody blamed it on the dog. Nobody blames it on the kids.
No. And I'm so sorry about that, Brandy. That's a really upsetting story. And I think it's even kind of, we've moved into a new space now. When I was younger, if you went up to a dog who had a bone or had something, and you went to, like, if you got bitten or growled at, your parents would be like, well, what did you do to the dog? They would be like, oh, well, don't be so ridiculous. But now we just expect dogs to be so perfect. It goes back to the stuffed puppy syndrome, that we want them all to just love everybody, be great in every situation. It's just not possible. So thank you for sharing, Brandy. That was great. All right, I've just looked at the time and I better get my skates on. So I'm going to go back to the slides, and I'm too chatty. What's new? Right, let me see if I can share my screen again. where is it? Okay. We're back to, all right. And then I'm going to turn this off again. Okie dokie. So let's get back to business. Alrighty. So basically, I wanted to quickly remind you of where we've been and where we're going. Remember our little map at the beginning. We have covered the 4 first truths, and that's part 1, the attitude part. And now we're moving into the second phase, which is all about action. So number 5, the 5th truth is kids can't be the boss. No, they cannot. And dogs know that. They know that they're not just short grown-ups. Simply, kids can't, they can't look after the dog because they don't have the maturity, the experience, or the physical capability to be able to take care of business. And it's kind of annoying. Honestly, I know selfishly, sometimes we want to be able to put our kids in charge so that we can take a break, but it's just not the right decision to make. And what happens if you do put your kid in charge is it can be dangerous for your dog. This little dog seems to have lost its way and is in the road. But imagine if your kid was watching the dog and it got out and it's in the street, or dropped the leash and dog's in the street. Or it could be also dangerous for your child. So your child could be injured if they hold on to the leash and get dragged into the road as well. So both of these are pretty horrible situations, not only for the dog in the first one. Imagine the trauma as well for the kid watching something terrible happening to the dog right in front of their eyes. So I want to ask you just really quickly in the chat, can you tell me what age do you think I recommend that kids take their dog for a walk alone? What do you think? 10, 12, 15, 14, 12, 12 plus. Great answers, everybody. Yes, I say my go-to is 14, and I think that that's generous. Really, it makes, to me, 14 is the absolute minimum, but loads of things go into that equation for me. So how big, skilled, mature, responsible, strong the dog is and the child is, and how reactive the dog is as well. Very quick sidebar, I was attacked by a dog in the park with my 2 dogs. This dog slipped its leash and came and attacked my dogs, and it was really terrifying. And I kept thinking to myself, what would happen if this was a kid walking their dog? It was really, really scary. So yes, 14 is my number. Well done to everybody who guessed that. Fantastic. So what are we going to do? Truth number 5, we're going to trade the word boss for bestie. So parents are going to do all the parenty stuff, the responsible stuff like walking and grooming and bathing, picking up, clipping nails, paw wiping, taking stuff out of dogs' mouths, all that kind of stuff. And kids are just going to bring the fun. They're going to be the good cop. They're going to bring treats, toys, games, all of that kind of stuff. All the fun is going to be with the kids. So even if we don't want the kids to be the boss, right, and we teach them that we're in control and it's not them, you know, you only need to let out one swear in your house and your kids will hear it and mimic it, because kids are amazing imitators, right? So it's likely, no, it's not likely, it's possible that if you are not paying attention and your dog is doing something and your kid is around, that they might want to mimic what you're doing. So being mindful of how you act around your dog is really, really important, because they're going to copy what you're modeling. So your goal here is to be calm, gentle, and patient. And if your kid ever does mimic you, that is what they're doing, which is really not only for the dog's benefit, but also, as you can imagine, for your kids' benefit, to keep them safe around your dog. Because if they try to start throwing their weight around and be bossy, the dog might just say, I'm not taking that from you. And we don't want to put your kid in a position where they're endangering themselves. All right, the takeaway from number 5 is you're driving this car. You are driving it. You're smart, experienced, and prepared, and you're the only person for the job. So yes, running your issue through this filter, what ways can you take control in your number 5 slot and put yourself back in the driver's seat? So the thing that you wrote down at the beginning, how do you think you can use this whole concept of you being the boss and not your kids being the boss? How can you take a bit more control in your house and teach your children and your dog to be respectful siblings who really enjoy each other's company rather than your kids being the boss of your dog? All right, superpower number 6. Yes, you do have a superpower, all of you parents. The amazing thing is you've done this all before. There are so many parallels between kids and dogs, and how we as parents help them navigate through life is really, really similar. So whether it's just raising a dog or navigating the kid-dog relationship part, you've done this. You know how to do this. And this is actually why I really love working with families. So in the name of growing up and exploring the world, you'll see both toddlers and puppies can make horrendous decisions, and they really need a parent's guidance. And really they can be doing crazy things that could be unsafe or painful or have crazy outcomes that they can't see. And so I think the best thing to do is actually kind of rely on the idea that they will make bad decisions and that you have to have your game face on when you're around them. So as I said, your superpower is that you get it. You saw the list earlier of all the similarities. The way that we parent kids and dogs, very, very similar. So we can use some of your favorite parenting hacks. The first one here, planning for occasions. How many of you guys have taken your kids out to a restaurant and you know if you don't bring some kind of an activity with them to keep them busy, they're going to get really antsy and they're going to start causing trouble. We used to, in desperation, get like those little packets of, sugar in the restaurant and try and make how high could we build a tower out of them? But you've got to be doing something with them to keep them entertained if you want them to be on their best behavior. And you can take exactly that and use that for a young dog. If you want to sit and eat your dinner, for example, and you don't want a young dog bothering you, you're going to give them an activity to do away from your dinner table. And that would be where you would, bring in, a tether or a baby gate or something and keep them away from the table, but keep them busy. You also know, parenting hack number 2, how to offer limited choices. So if you want your kids to eat something halfway decent and not just a pack of Cheetos for lunch, you might give them 2 different choices for lunch. It might be a sandwich and an apple or, some granola and a banana or whatever you think it is. But you're going to do the same thing when you have your kids and dogs playing together. You're not going to let it just be a free for all. You're going to say, we're going to pick this activity to do, or we're going to pick this activity to do. Which one would you like to do? And give them those limited choices. And the third one, obviously, read feelings. And we have talked about that earlier, but you know how to not let things escalate. You know how to step in to help. And you can use this either for seeing your dog's behavior escalating or kid-dog interactions escalating to a place that you don't really like. So the takeaway here, for your superpower, use what you already know. And these are the 3 things that I think we as parents have just in spades. We know how to teach our kids clearly. We know how to protect them fiercely. And if we're smart, we expect them to act just like kids and dogs, right? So which one of these 3 superpowers is your best asset? All right. I want you to think which one yes, I've got that. I am so awesome at that one. And how can you amplify that superpower in your situation with the issue that you're running through this filter, right? How can you really, really shine? So write that in slot 6 for me. What can you do? All right. Truth number 7, rocking and rolling now. Respect is everything. Now, this is specifically for the what to teach kids part. This is the piece that you and your kids will need to know to stay well clear of the yucky outcome in that video. So this is a poster that you can download from my website. And actually what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the chat quickly now so you can see it. The key to this poster, as you can see right in the center there, is the word respect. So the goal is to teach your children to respect your dog's body, feelings, space, and their stuff. All right. And their body, obviously, how they're touched is really, really important. I mean, it's important to us as humans, and it's really important to dogs how they're touched. And there is a right and a wrong way to do it. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Their feelings, I feel like I've just hammered that to death. So hopefully that you've taken that away. We know that we have to respect feelings. Respecting space. Yes, space is really important to dogs too. So when they're eating and sleeping, really, really important for kids to walk away from them and let them be. And lastly, their stuff. So, dogs have to be taught how to share in the same way that kids do. It's not natural for them to just be like, sure, take all of my things. So we don't ever want to put kids in a position where they're going up and taking things away from your dog, even whether it might belong to the kid even, but we don't want to put them in that zone because we don't want the dog protecting it and therefore putting your child in danger. So actually, just one more thing I wanted to say there. So print this. If there's one thing you basically take from this presentation today, is that you download this poster, you print it out, and you stick it up in your house, and you talk to your kids about it as well, because it's really, really important. Right, I'd love to show you this video next. This is one that I made called Dog Stars, and it incorporates a lot of the messages that we've talked about. And what's great about videos is if you play them to your children, you don't have to nag them. Woohoo! Who doesn't want to be the not nagger of the family? I don't. Hopefully you can hear this. All right. Oh my gosh, it's so crazy to see that video. My kids were so little when I made it. Oh my goodness. That my 15 and 17-year-olds now. Wah! Anyway, age, it's a crazy thing. All right, takeaway number 7. Respect is everything. You're going to teach your kids to respect your dog's body, feelings, space, and stuff. Okay, so that is your mission for this in number 7, is you're going to print off the poster, go through it with your kids, and choose one thing that you know that you really could work on as a family, and then set up a reward system. So do a sticker chart or some pom-poms and really reward your kids for acting the way that you want them to act, which leads me perfectly into truth number 8. Yes beats no every time. Okay, what the devil does that mean? So from a training perspective, yes is the most effective way to get the desired response that you want. No gives no information. So if you say no, it's giving no information about what you do want them to do. But yes targets exactly what you want. And so how that works on kids is if you say, no, please don't pull on the dog's tail, that could actually translate into, well, it's okay for me to pull on the dog's ears. You said tail, okay? If, however, you say, yes, pet gently on the body, right? You might actually get your kids petting gently on the body, which is fantastic. And not only is it great for your kids, because again, we could maybe reward them for that behavior, which means there's a much higher likelihood that they'll repeat it, but your dog is actually going to enjoy it too, all right? My kids have definitely pulled us alternative stuff. Oh, funny. Okay, so what does that mean for dogs? So for dogs, no, don't chew on the shoe. We know that dogs love to chew things. So if they don't chew on the shoe, they might just pick the rug instead. If you can teach them, yes, chew on this bone, I'm fulfilling what your need is, your dog's going to actually chew on the bone and enjoy it. And if you can limit their ability to chew, limit the ability for them to choose the wrong thing, what will end up happening is if they only get parent approved activities, you're going to be creating a pattern for them that's just what I do, which is wonderful because they'll start looking for where's the bone or where's the toy, and they'll just go naturally pick that up. So in keeping with this yes beats no, this pat, pet, pause is my formula for really lovely kid-dog interactions. It's all about yes, and it's rooted in choice for the dog as well. So the choice part actually helps create this lovely trust between kids and dogs. So let's go through this very quickly. So first of all, your child, instead of rushing in to pet your dog, they're going to invite your dog into their space. They're going to pat on their leg and say, would you like to come over? So they stand still where they are, pat their leg, invite the dog over. If the dog comes to them, they're giving their first signal that they might actually be interested in petting. And if they don't, we're going to just teach our kids, that's all right, they're not interested right now. And they need to be allowed the freedom to choose. The second step is petting, and there is a right way to do this. Most dogs do not, most, air quotes again, don't like to be pet on the head. And if you've got a young dog, you know, if you put your hand over the top of their head, their mouth just opens up and they want to bite your fingers. So the best places are to pet on the shoulder, under the chin or down the side of the body there where the little love hearts are, and with one hand. And one hand is really important because two hands, kids tend to get a bit grabby and they can't seem to let go of the dog in the way that tells the dog that they have the freedom to leave that situation. So one hand means they can always step away when they're done. And then the third part is pause. And this is really where the magic is. So your kids are petting for a few seconds and then they stop and let the dog choose. Have they had enough? Do they want to walk away? Or do they want to stay for a little bit more? So this is a really nice mantra to use with your kids, pat, pet, pause. You can use this at home with your dog or with your kids' friends' dogs or family dogs, or even just dogs out in the park to make sure that everybody's safe. All right, the takeaway for Truth 8, yes beats no. Let's see if we can turn a no into a yes for you. So this is a two-part exercise. What I would love you to do, and I'm going to give you 1 minute on my clock, is to think of all of the things, or as many things as you can in a minute, you say no to your kids, to your dog, or both. Okay, are you ready? Take your marks, get set, go. 1 minute. You're going to write them on a piece of paper. I might just give you 30 seconds, depends actually, because we really are running over. So write really, really quickly. I feel like I should be playing some music. 25 seconds. Ten seconds left. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. End of the clock. Ding, 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 ding. Feel like we should be able to do. Okay. So what you're going to do now is you're going to take one of those things from your list and you're going to turn that no into a yes. And then I would love you to share that in the chat with me. Okay. So take a no and share it when you have it in a yes. And if you don't have it as a yes, maybe you want to share it with the group and we can help you turn it into a yes. So no chewing kids' socks, chew a bone. Yes. Oh my gosh, they love socks, don't they? Absolutely love socks. What else? Anybody else up there? Yes, chew on that bone versus the couch. Don't hug the dog, pat gently. Yes, absolutely. Gently, slowly, calmly. Wonderful. Love it. You guys are awesome. All right. So now you can have this list for yourself, all of those things that you wrote down, and you can keep this for after the fact, and you can work on all of them and see how you can turn all of those no's into yeses. And I bet you'll see a very different response in your house. It really does make a humongous difference to your dog and to your kids as well. All right, the last, very, very last truth, we've arrived. Parents need a break. Kids and dogs do too as well. It's exhausting to be on all the time, doing, managing, being present and mindful. And I just want to say, I've noticed this even more now. I've just added a puppy to my family, but some of my biggest mistakes are actually from feeling guilty and not taking a break. So trying to push through and doing too much instead of taking stock and doing what I know to be right. So what I would like you all to do is to refill your bucket. And yes, that is an order. My bossy britches on. This work is tough. So you need to recharge and put your oxygen mask on first. Otherwise, you know what's going to happen. You'll let stuff slide because you're exhausted or you're overwhelmed and you just don't want to deal with it. And then that's going to have ramifications. So if you do find yourself exhausted, don't forget you have babysitters. So you've got crates, tethers, X-pens, and baby gates, and they are all really, really useful for you. I do want to say something about the tether because I always have a slight amount of anxiety talking about the tether. I use it all the time, and I find that it's a really, really helpful tool. But the disclaimer about this is that I really never, ever tether my dog when I'm not in the room and next to the dog. So tethering would be, I'm working in my office, for example, at my desk, and I want my dog to sit under my desk while I'm responding to emails. I don't want them wandering around the house, but this does not mean that I allow my kids to come up to the dog at all when they're tethered, and I'm not leaving to go out of the room because I don't want them to get tangled or hurt themselves. So this is really not around kids, but it is an amazing tool for you. And then the last part is that these are babysitters. So we want our kids / puppies to enjoy the babysitters, because if they like the babysitters, you get to do stuff, right? So these, we don't want to make them jails. We want to turn them into VIP rooms. That's what I like to call them. So you take the boring crate and the boring X-pen and what's behind the baby gate, and you fill it with the fun stuff. And actually what you do is you lock your dog out. So they see all the fun stuff, all the VIP stuff on the inside, and they're not allowed in until the moment when you're like, okay, your name's coming down, your name's on the list, you can get in for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, open the door, let them in, and then they can stay in there for a little while, and then you let them out again and keep all of the goodies locked in so that they've got some anticipation. Fun stuff, Andy says, fun stuff like bones and toys, yes. Things that they absolutely love that they can't resist. Exactly, bones and toys, perfect. And not only do parents benefit from breaks, but kids and dogs do too, because space in any relationship is helpful. We all know this. My goodness, if you're married, you definitely know that. Some time for the kids to decompress or rest, and some time for the dogs to decompress and rest as well. They come back to any situation then with their best foot forward. So I always think that short and sweet for kids interacting is the best medicine. Having some kind of a plan of what they're going to do when they're together as well. Like imagine it like a play date where they're going to be together and they're going to do something together. And when they're done, then you could feel fine about separating them. Okay, the takeaway from the very last truth, we're wrapping it up now, that parents need a break, is you don't need to do this alone. So considering everything that we've discussed today, I'd like you to consider, where are the gaps in your family? List the ways that you would really like help to plug them. All right. Do you have gaps where you feel like you need some help? You write something down, be like, yes, I really could use with an extra pair of hands to walk my dog, or I could really use my partner to give me some extra time in the evening so that I can do X, Y, and Z with my kids or my dog. All right. And number 2, consider, where can you get this help? Can you get it from your partner or from your kids or from your friends or your family? Or do you need to ask a professional? Do you need to ask a dog trainer to help work with you on a specific issue that your dog is struggling with? Or again, do you need a dog walker, or do you need daycare or something like that? It's really, there are people out there to help you. Maybe it's a neighbor. Maybe you can switch off dogs. I mean, that's always a great thing to do, isn't it? You know, take 2 dogs for a walk while you're free, and then ask your neighbor to do it at another time. But it's really important to have a support network to help you get through this, because it is a lot. And that support needs to help you, your kids, and your dog. And in my experience, when a family gets a dog, they all have these like amazing intentions. Everybody's all gung-ho about doing everything right. But where it starts to really kind of fall apart is that we spend all of our energy on just training the dog. And then it becomes solely the dog's responsibility to get everything right. And hopefully, the big takeaway for you guys after today is that there's so much more to this. Every member of the family, as you now know, plays a role in creating that magic family dog picture. So as Deborah said at the beginning of this webinar, take a look out for an email that's going to be coming your way in the next day or so. I'm launching at the beginning of next year is my new Peace, Love, Kids and Dogs Club. And it's a jam-packed program that's created just for families. It's going to have a private Facebook group and live trainings and all of your burning questions answered. So look out for the email. And I'm also going to include a humongous discount just for the next couple of weeks for those who want to join, because I want to fill it with some really incredible founding members like you. So thank you so much for listening. My inbox, you can see there, Justine at thefamilydog.com, is open to you. There's a bunch of free resources on my website, thefamilydog.com, at the bottom there. And I really appreciate spending time with you this Saturday. And now it's time for Q&A. So, Steph's you're in New Zealand. Thank you so much for joining. Goodness only knows what time it is there. I can't even imagine. Let's see if I can turn my video back on. There we go. Hi. All right. So I think, Deb, did you message me saying you should handle your own questions? You're great at reading the chat. Okay. All right. So do you guys have questions? If you do, excuse me, please fire away. If you want to write them in the chat, then I'll just read them off and answer them as they come in. I'm happy to do that. And for everybody else who has to go, I really appreciate you being here. I hope you've learned a lot. And please do shoot me a message if you need any help in any way. Sunday morning, Steph. Wonderful. Wow. We're a day behind you. A whole day behind. Do you think it's okay? Anne's asking a question. Do you think it's okay to bring in an adult rescue into a family of kids? And that is a fantastic question. And I would say yes, 100%. I did. I brought two. I have 2 rescues. One that I brought in who was 1, and one was 2 when I got them. They're both still alive and kicking. And I think that my note would be just to, first of all, find out a little bit, if you can, about the dog's background and if they have ever lived with kids before. That would be my number 1 preference. If they've grown up in a family with children and they somehow got displaced from that family, and so they're used to being around kids. But the disclaimer on that is that the relationship that they had with those children has to have been positive for them to actually enjoy being around children. And just take a really good look at the body language when you go to meet that dog. One of the tips that you can, or a little sneaky kind of thing that you can do when you go to a meet and greet, is to separate off the kids from the adults and see which one the dog actually gravitates towards. Because ideally, it's amazing to have a dog that really loves being with kids more than they love being with grown-ups. I've had one of my dogs was like that. She would much rather be with my kids than the grown-ups. So anyway, that would be my advice. But absolutely, rescues can be wonderful, wonderful dogs. It's just all about getting the right fit. And if you work with a rescue, they probably will have a much better idea of the dog in question. Okay. Andy says, what toys do you recommend? Okay, so brilliant toys for kids and dogs. I really love the flirt pole. So if you guys don't know what a flirt pole is, I've got to stop saying guys as well. It's so part of my vernacular. So everybody, if you don't know what a flirt pole is, it is like a long cat toy. It looks like a fishing pole with a toy on the end. And the reason that I like that is because it creates a lot of distance between bitey dog teeth and little kid hands. And most dogs like to chase toys, and so it's a really fun game for them to be able to play. I also love teaching dogs how to retrieve things. So if you've got some nice, I've got them in my little pen down here, some squeaky tennis balls, especially if you start with a young dog, you can teach this early. Some dogs naturally just love retrieving, but retrieve with a couple of balls. Have your kids never take the ball out of the dog's mouth, but just take a second ball and throw the second ball. Okay, maybe 3, 4, 5 balls if you've got tennis balls and they like it. Great question, Andy. Catherine says, we do gates and everything, but our grown children think we let the dog take over. Yes. Well, sometimes we do let the dog take over. I think it's part of having a dog. We like to spoil them too. So I don't think there's a question in there, Catherine. If there is a question, you can definitely add some more in the chat here and I'll answer it for you. Okay, Nita says, I would like to be able to trust Moose is not going to bite a kid. Can I use a muzzle when we have visitors with younger kid, or not a good idea? So Nita, I would like to know, do you have some kind of experience of not trusting your dog? Is there something that leads you to believe that they would not be okay with a child? Before using a muzzle, what I probably would have them meet behind a baby gate, because you can still set up some distance and you can read your dog's body language clearer, but it allows them some freedom. Muzzle training is fantastic, but it takes a while for your dog to get used to it. So you'd have to put the time and effort into that. And I really do think baby gates probably would be your best answer in that situation. And also, honestly, if you do have any kind of inkling that your dog is not great with kids, I would work with a trainer, maybe locally, to take a look at that, because that would probably be the best advice in that situation. Okay, Parsa says, our dog is great with our 9-year-old, but skittish around younger hyper kids. Should we keep them separate always or slowly introduce? Oh, I love these questions. That's fantastic, Parsa. I definitely think you should keep them separated. But what does separated look like? So again, if you put them in a crate in a different room, they're never really getting any exposure to that child. So I would want to look at the dog and see exactly how they're acting. When you say, again, skittish, I don't know exactly what skittish looks like, whether it's really, really intense. If it's really intense, I would say keep them out of the way. If it's just a little nervous, then I might be tempted to just let the dog decide the distance. So the goal is to keep your dog under threshold. And I know that's a bit of a trainer term, but keep your dog where you're not seeing any of those signals on the communication ladder. You don't want to see any like lip licking or yawning or stress signals, because that's when you know that they're too close and the interaction's too much for them. So maybe start off in a different room, and then maybe in the same room but in a crate, but maybe with a baby gate around it so that there's plenty of space. And then maybe test the waters and allow a little bit more proximity, but always letting your dog guide this experience. Does that make sense? I hope that does. And also, I think it's really important for the kids to get some training about this, that the kids would be as important in this situation as well. So if the kids are really crazy, it's having a conversation with the kids saying, look, I've got the dog in this room here. If you want to be in the same room, even though it's behind a baby gate, I'll need you to take the energy level down a little bit. Okay, so this is what you can do. You can ask my dog to sit and throw them a treat, or we can do something that's a fun interaction, but playing over a baby gate. And that should give your dog a little bit more security. I hope that makes sense. And I see your comment about doesn't like being cornered. Yes, very understandably. And nor should they have to experience that either. So that's where your protect your dog comes in. You get all protecty. Okay. Let's see if there are any other questions. And Catherine says the gates in the house look like the dog has taken over. Yes, totally fine. I mean, sometimes you just have to have the baby gates up. That's just the way it is. Okay. So Deborah's saying next week's webinar is about at-home activities. And I know that the speaker loves flirt poles. We have some for sale at our place in Rockville. Get on down to Rockville. So you can get them there, or you can also get them on Amazon. And I believe that next weekend speaker likes the squishy face flirt pole. Wow, try saying that quickly. I need some more coffee for that. They come in 2 sizes, one better for inside but one better for outside. Fantastic. Yeah, I do love the flirt pole. Absolutely amazing toy. You have to be careful with it if you have a young dog to make sure that you don't flip it up in the air, because you can really mess up their joints. So I'm noticing this with my puppy. He doesn't have any real self-regulation. He just like goes for whatever is in front of him. So you have to keep it really low and make sure that it's big circles or straight lines, because we don't want them to hurt themselves. As I said in my presentation, that I think it's really important that we allow families to know that there is specialized training for them, because dog training schools are absolutely wonderful for training the dog, but there's so much more to it than that. And this is a brand new venture for me. My Peace, Love, Kids and Dogs program has actually been available to families for a few years now, but I've never had the time or the bandwidth to be able to work with families in this kind of setting. So I will make myself available to do these live teachings and Q&As and really support families through their journey. So I'm really excited about it, and I would love to have some people on board to share their journey with me. It'll be a real privilege.
Okay, well, I guess that's it then. Looks like there are no more questions. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it.